Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight, the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock or related genres, usually artists that I want to bring more attention towards, that I've been loving, and that I want to recommend to you all. And today I've got Charlie Griffith's new record as the project Tiktaalika. The album is called Gods of Pangaea. And the first record of Tiktaalika came out a few years ago, and it was under the name Charlie Griffiths, but it seems like for this project, he's decided to take that Tiktaalika name and make it the band's name, essentially, or project name, however you want to frame it. So the artist is Tiktaalika. The album is Gods of Pangaea, which is kind of a sequel album to Charlie Griffith's first solo work. So Charlie Griffiths is one of my favorite musicians. He's in one of my favorite bands, Haken. Fantastic progressive metal band. If you haven't heard Haken, what are you doing? Go out and listen to some Haken music. But I love all of their solo works, all the members of Haken. Ross Jennings came out with a fantastic solo album a few years ago. Rich Henshaw has also put out some solo material. So this is just another addition to the fantastic solo catalog of the Haken members. And I absolutely loved the first album, Tiktaalika, because I felt like even though it introduced some heavier stuff than I typically listen to, I'm not really the death metal guy on YouTube, as you probably are aware of. I thought it was a fascinating blend of bringing in some thrash metal influences, but still having a progressive metal base to it, which was really satisfying for me. And it was a conceptual record that I really loved the concept of. It's like ancient prehistoric history, but done in a metal fashion, and had some cool guest stars and guest vocalists throughout the piece. And it really impressed me how they brought back cool themes. It had this kind of cool, mysterious flavor to it. So I really recommend that album. It was one of my favorites of the year it came out. I can't remember if it was 2022, I want to say, or 23, but fantastic record nonetheless. So I was really excited to see what the sequel would bring on this record in particular. And I'll admit, upon my first few listens, I was pretty disappointed with this record because I feel like Charlie Griffiths has really stripped back all of the prog away from the record a little bit. All the things that really brought me into the Tiktaalika universe seemed a little bit missing on this record, and he really went all in on the thrash metal perspective. And so it's really all about the riffs. Really, the majority of the record is just guitar, bass, drums, and it's kind of that classic metal sound that you might hear on 80s bands like Metallica, Megadeth, all of these classic metal bands. And that's not really my favorite genre of music, honestly. I've never really been into that kind of style. I love progressive rock first, and I dabble in metal only because of the prog influences in progressive metal. I love Dream Theater, I love Haken, I love these bands that are able to bring this progressive perspective into their metal sound. So this record was a little bit of a challenge for me, I'll admit, because it's really thrash metal forward. But of course, if you're into that, if you love 80s thrash metal, this is going to be your record. It's a fantastic record. It's objectively great. The playing is fantastic and superb throughout the record. There's so many great riffs, so many catchy sections, so much power and fun and ferocity in the work that I just can't imagine you not having fun with this if you love classic Metallica, classic Megadeth, classic Iron Maiden. All of that stuff is just baked into this album in a fantastic fashion. Just because it's not my thing doesn't mean I can't recommend it to you guys who really like that stuff. And as I've listened to it more, my ear's been grabbed to different things that I've actually enjoyed. There's some cool riffs that really excite me and get me headbanging a little bit. There's some cool vocal sections and vocal hooks through the choruses that I really enjoy. All the performances are top-notch. Charlie Griffith's guitar playing is on another level. So there's definitely a lot to enjoy throughout the record, even though there's little particular nitpicks that are just not my personal preference. For example, some of the more heavier death metal laden vocals, especially from Tommy Rogers on Lost Continent. We get a lot of that kind of heavy growling vocal in there. Fault Lines has a little bit of that as well, with Roddy Walker from Protest the Hero giving some more screamy style vocals. So you get a little bit of that peppered throughout the mix. It's not too bad if you're not a heavy metal death metal growling kind of fan, don't be too turned away. It's only in certain spots. There's definitely a lot of clean singing on the record as well. So I don't want to turn people away, but it's just a personal taste preference of mine that I don't tend to like the harsher vocals. I don't really feel like it adds much. I guess I can understand that it adds this kind of darker, more menacing style feel, but I just can't understand the lyrics when they're growling like that. And I feel like there's other ways that you can use a more melodic singing voice to bring that same kind of a feel and vibe. But, once again, I'm coming as someone who doesn't really know the classic metal, classic thrash metal scene, and don't really understand the origins of that kind of style of vocal. So just a personal preference thing once again. I really love the track Gods of Pangaea. It's kind of the first single, the title track of the record, featuring Daniel De Jong on vocals here. Some really cool classic metal, cool off-kilter riffs, giving a bit of a feel that connects me to the early first record. It has that kind of similar sound in a way. And I really love the soaring chorus. De Jong has this kind of near growl snarling tone in the verses, but he has this cool soaring vocal and great hook in the chorus itself. And there's some cool kind of almost Eastern style musical influences, some mystical vibes, some really cool bass lines. I believe Connor Green is the one doing the bass, who's also the bassist in Haken. So the bass work on this album is absolutely incredible and fantastic. The Forbidden Zone has some of that growling style vocals. The chorus almost feels like it has a bit of a chant feel to it. There's a bit of a darker vibe on here. I believe it has a bit of a more down-tuned kind of feel and style. But you still get that cool, catchy vocal hook that kind of grabs you and captures your ear, despite the monotony, to me, of the repeating riffage throughout the track. So really cool. I thought Mesozoic Mantras, which features Vladimir Lalic, was a good kind of respite from the more heavier riff-driven first three tracks of the record. We get a bit more of an acoustic feel with some great soaring vocals on top, some varied unexpected melodies throughout, which, like I've been saying, kind of reminds me of what I love about the first Tiktaalika record. Gives you your ears a bit of a break from the unrelenting heavy riffs that are all throughout the record. About 2 minutes in, we get back to that thrash metal flavor, but it's a cool respite for a couple minutes before we get back into the heavier riffage, and we morph and weave through different heavy passages. And I love the soaring vocal section about 4 minutes into this track, surrounded by sections of heavy riffing and then a free-flying guitar solo. Charlie Griffiths has plenty of moments to really showcase his incredible guitar playing and style, and that's another great example of it. Fault Lines is another kind of classic, heavy Metallica-style track with pounding drums, bass, and guitar riffs. One of the more headbanging tracks on the record. Probably one of my least favorites, because it really leans into that thrash metal perspective. As does Give Up the Ghost. Lost Continent kind of gives you a bit more of a proggy flavor throughout some of the instrumental moments, especially in the second half of the record. Some cool guitar shredding, even though there's a lot of that growling vocals that you have to navigate throughout that track. And then there's a bonus track, Chakut Club, which is one of my favorite tracks, even though it's a bonus track. It's purely instrumental, and there's a lot of cool varieties, some really killer drumming throughout the track, some great instrumental riffage. Love a lot of the musical moments as it morphs and weaves through these different sections. One of my favorite tracks from the first record was the title track Tiktaalika, which was this expansive thrash metal inspired instrumental. And maybe what I like more is the instrumental moments, because some of the growling, more intense, darker vocals don't really connect with me quite so much. So all in all, it's a little bit of a mixed grab bag for me. It's not really one of my favorite records this year, if I'm being perfectly honest, to my taste. But I can recognize that it's a really fun experience. A lot of people who love this thrash metal inspiration and who grew up on 80s thrash are going to love this record. It's expertly produced and made, great musicianship, everyone's playing to perfection, so there's no complaints about the objective quality of this record. It's really great and really a standout performance from everyone involved. It's just it didn't connect with me personally because of my personal preference and tastes in a more proggy direction. I did not detect much prog here at all. I like music that contains more textures, more different instruments. I like having keyboards, and if not keyboards, something else to kind of add another element, a flute, horns, strings, something to kind of give the sound a little bit more weight and a little bit of more variety. But, they really stick to that guitar, bass, drums, trio sound and that metal vibe throughout this record, which, gives it this cohesive nature, delivers exactly what Charlie Griffiths was wanting to deliver with this record. It's exactly his artistic vision realized in a perfect little record. And so I recommend it to you if you like those styles and sounds, and hopefully you'll find a lot of fun to be had. A lot of my fellow YouTubers who talk about music with me have really been digging this and really enjoying it because they have more of a background in this style of music than I do. So take those recommendations more to heart, and I hope that you'll check out the record and enjoy it if that's your favorite style. So thank you guys for joining me on this review. Hopefully you appreciated my thoughts. Please stick around on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. I do these reviews at least weekly and try to give you guys some of the best in prog as much as I'm able to. So thank you guys for joining me, and I'll catch you in a future episode. Bye, everybody. Enjoy the music.